What I'm about to share with you isn't popular, it's not politically correct, and you won't hear it from mainstream relationship advice. But every single thing I'm going to tell you today is backed by observable patterns that men experience over and over again. Patterns that nobody warned them about. These aren't attacks, they're not bitter rants. They're psychological insights about relationship dynamics that can save you years of confusion and pain if you're willing to hear them. Today we're covering 6 facts about female psychology and modern relationship dynamics that most men learn the hard way. Some of you will resist what I'm saying. Some of you will recognize exactly what I'm describing because you've lived it. Either way, by the end of this video, you'll see relationships differently than you did before. Let's get into it. And before we start, I know some of you will say, "Not all women are like this." You're right, not all women are like this. But enough women demonstrate these patterns that every man needs to understand them. The goal isn't to demonize women. The goal is to protect yourself by understanding dynamics that nobody else is going to warn you about. The first fact is something men sense but rarely articulate. Many women maintain an internal rating system that constantly evaluates their partner's worth. This isn't conscious for most of them. It's not malicious. It's a background process running at all times, assessing your value based on how you show up day to day, your status at work, your confidence when challenges arise, how other people treat you, how you handle stress, how you lead or fail to lead in daily situations. All of this feeds into a mental score that determines how she feels about you in any given moment. When your perceived value is high, she's affectionate, attentive, engaged. She brags about you to her friends. She initiates intimacy. She's invested in your happiness. When your perceived value drops, you lose your job. You become passive. You stop leading. You let yourself go. Something shifts. The affection cools. The respect diminishes. She becomes critical of things she used to overlook. Small annoyances become major issues. Here's what most men don't realize. By the time she's expressing dissatisfaction verbally, her internal scorecard has already been declining for weeks or months. The complaints you're hearing aren't the beginning of the problem. They're the warning that you're approaching a threshold. And when that threshold is crossed, when your score drops too low for too long, she doesn't always tell you. She doesn't always give you a chance to fix it. Sometimes she just starts quietly scanning for alternatives. This is why relationships seem to end suddenly from the man's perspective. He thinks everything was fine until it wasn't. But from her perspective, she'd been watching his score decline for a long time. He just wasn't paying attention to the metrics she was tracking. Now, is this fair? Is it kind? That's not really the point. The point is that this dynamic exists, and understanding it gives you the ability to recognize when your value is slipping before it's too late to course correct. The takeaway isn't to become paranoid about every interaction. It's to understand that your behavior compounds over time. Small slips accumulate. Consistent leadership accumulates too. She's always watching, always evaluating whether she realizes it or not. Here's what men miss. Women communicate through behavior before they communicate through words. The scorecard manifests in how she touches you, how she responds when you speak, how she talks about you to others, how much effort she puts into her appearance when she's around you. If you learn to read these signals, you'll know where you stand long before any conversation. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Once her score for you drops below a certain threshold, words alone won't bring it back. You can't negotiate attraction. You can't convince her to respect you. You have to rebuild value through action. And sometimes the window for that has already closed before you realize there was a problem. The second fact is harder to hear. Some women maintain backup options while in committed relationships. Not all women, not most women, but enough that you need to be aware of the pattern. Here's how it works. A woman in a relationship notices that her partner's trajectory is declining. Maybe he's lost ambition. Maybe his career has stalled. Maybe he's just not the man she thought he would become. Her internal scorecard is dropping, and she's not sure it will recover. Rather than address this directly, which would require vulnerability and might lead to conflict, she hedges. She maintains relationships with other men that appear innocent on the surface. Old friends, co-workers, guys from the gym. Nothing physical happens. Nothing overtly crosses the line. But these connections serve a purpose. They're insurance policies. If the current relationship fails, she won't have to start from zero. She'll have options already warmed up and waiting. Men often miss this because they evaluate loyalty differently. For many men, you're either faithful or you're not. The idea of maintaining backup options while committed seems like obvious infidelity. But for some women, as long as nothing physical has happened, she can tell herself she's done nothing wrong. The giveaway signs are subtle. She's protective of her phone. She has male friends who clearly have romantic interest in her, but she downplays it. She maintains contact with exes for reasons she can't quite explain. When you express discomfort, she accuses you of being insecure or controlling. The psychology here isn't complicated. Security is a core female need. And some women pursue security through redundancy, making sure they're never truly dependent on one man's continued commitment or success. The solution isn't to become jealous or controlling. The solution is to be the man who renders backup plans unnecessary. When your value is consistently high, when your trajectory is upward, when you're clearly her best option, she has no reason to hedge. But if you've let yourself slip, if your score has been declining, understand that her loyalty may be conditional on factors you've stopped paying attention to. One more thing about this pattern, it's often invisible until it's too late. Men discover the backup plan existed only when the relationship ends and she moves on suspiciously fast. How did she find someone new so quickly? Because she'd been cultivating that connection for months while still with you. The betrayal isn't always physical. Sometimes the deeper betrayal is emotional. Giving another man access to her thoughts, her doubts, her complaints about you. By the time she leaves, she's already emotionally transferred to someone else. You were the last to know. The third fact is uncomfortable, but increasingly observable. Modern culture has shifted many relationships toward transactional dynamics. A generation ago, marriage was understood as a partnership where both people contributed different things. He provided resources and protection. She provided nurturing and home management. Both sacrificed individual desires for the family unit. Neither kept score because the arrangement was assumed to be mutually beneficial. Today, that model has been disrupted, and nothing clear has replaced it. What many men encounter instead is a transactional framework, where relationships are evaluated primarily on what they provide, not what both people build together, what she extracts from the arrangement. Lifestyle, experiences, financial security, social status, access to opportunities she couldn't get alone. When a woman operating in this framework evaluates a potential partner, she's not primarily asking, do we connect? Do we share values? Could we build something together? She's asking, what does he bring to my life? What level of lifestyle can he provide? What doors does he open? Social media has accelerated this dramatically. Women are constantly exposed to curated images of luxury, travel, and affluence. Influencers monetize the appearance of an aspirational lifestyle. And ordinary women absorb the message that they deserve that lifestyle too. They just need to find the right man to fund it. This creates a dating environment where many women have minimum income thresholds for potential partners, not based on whether that income would support a family, but based on whether it would support the lifestyle she's been taught to expect. Men earning below a certain amount become invisible. Not because those men lack character, ambition, or the ability to be good partners, but because they don't meet the transactional threshold that modern culture has normalized. The risk for men is entering relationships where the foundation is transactional without realizing it. He thinks they're building something together. She's calculating what she's getting out of the deal. When the benefits decrease, He loses his job, his business struggles, his income drops. The relationship ends, not because love failed, but because the transaction stopped being profitable. The protection against this is brutal honesty during dating. Watch what she responds to. Is she attracted to you or to what you provide? Does she invest in the relationship or only consume from it? Would she stay if your circumstances changed? If you can't confidently answer those questions, you might be in a transaction rather than a relationship. The legal system amplifies this risk. Divorce in many jurisdictions doesn't distinguish between partnerships built on love and transactions that expired. When the transaction ends, when she decides the deal no longer serves her, the law still splits assets, awards alimony, and distributes what you built as if both parties contributed equally. Men who've been through this often describe feeling like they were unknowingly funding an exit strategy. He thought they were building together. She was accumulating until she had enough to leave comfortably. This isn't every woman, but it's enough women that you need to be discerning. Pay attention to how she talks about money, about security, about what she deserves. Watch whether she invests in the relationship or simply consumes from it. These patterns reveal themselves if you're willing to see them. The fourth fact challenges a common assumption. Many women who appear confident are privately consumed by anxiety about aging and declining attractiveness. Modern culture tells women that their appearance is their primary source of value. It also tells them that this value has an expiration date. The combination creates a constant background hum of anxiety that men rarely see directly. Women are acutely aware of how they compare to other women. Social media makes this comparison constant and unavoidable. Every scroll is a reminder of someone younger, thinner, more beautiful. Every like is a metric of relative attractiveness. Every year that passes feels like value slipping away. This anxiety drives behavior that men often misread. The obsession with appearance isn't vanity, it's fear. The preoccupation with age isn't superficiality. It's genuine concern about losing the leverage she believes her looks provide. For single women approaching certain age thresholds, this anxiety intensifies. The pressure to secure a partner, to lock down resources, to establish security before her perceived value declines further. It creates urgency that shapes her decisions. This is why some women settle for men they're not genuinely attracted to. Why some push for commitment faster than the relationship naturally warrants. Why some become increasingly critical of men who waste their time without moving toward marriage. The anxiety is real. The pressure is real. The fear of ending up alone as youth fades is real. What men need to understand is that this anxiety can make women behave in ways that seem irrational or desperate, because on some level they are desperate. They're operating from a scarcity mindset driven by the belief that their window is closing. This doesn't make them bad people, it makes them human. But it does mean that the confident exterior you see often masks significant insecurity underneath. And that insecurity can drive decisions that don't serve either partner well. Here's what this looks like in practice. A woman approaching 30 starts putting more pressure on the relationship to progress. She needs milestones moving in together, engagement, marriage on a timeline that feels urgent to her, even if it doesn't match the natural pace of the relationship. She's not being unreasonable from her perspective. She's racing against a clock she believes is counting down. Men who don't understand this dynamic get blindsided by ultimatums that seem to come out of nowhere. Where is this going? I need commitment or I'm leaving. I'm not getting any younger. These aren't threats. They're expressions of genuine anxiety about running out of time. The tragedy is that decisions made from anxiety rarely lead to good outcomes. Rushing into marriage to beat the clock. Settling for a man who's available rather than one who's right. Prioritizing security over compatibility because the fear of being alone feels worse than the reality of being with the wrong person. The fifth fact explains a pattern that destroys relationships men thought were working. Boredom is far more dangerous than most men realize. Modern culture has created an expectation of constant stimulation. Entertainment is endless and always available. Social media delivers new content every second. The dopamine hits come fast and frequent. Many women have become wired for novelty. The stable, predictable comfort that long-term relationships provide starts to feel boring. Not bad, not wrong, just flat, understimulating. The absence of drama starts to feel like the absence of passion. Here's what this looks like in practice. A man does everything right. He's reliable, he's stable, he provides, he's faithful, he treats her well, and somehow she becomes dissatisfied anyway. She starts picking fights over nothing. She becomes critical of things she used to accept. She seems unhappy, but can't explain why. When pressed, she might say, she's not feeling connected or something is missing. Vague complaints that don't point to anything actionable. What's actually happening is that the relationship has become predictable, and predictable has become intolerable. She needs emotional spikes, the drama of uncertainty, the highs and lows that make her feel alive. Stable and comfortable doesn't trigger those feelings, so she creates conflict artificially, not consciously, but because her nervous system needs more stimulation than the relationship is providing. This is why women sometimes leave good men for exciting men, why they blow up stable relationships for the thrill of something new, why they describe relationships that were objectively healthy as lacking passion or missing a spark. The boredom factor is amplified by social media and peer groups. Women share relationship complaints with each other, and those complaints get validated and amplified. You deserve to be happy. If you're not excited, something's wrong. Don't settle for less than butterflies. This advice sounds supportive, but it encourages women to interpret normal relationship comfort as evidence of a problem. It reframes stability as stagnation. It suggests that constant excitement is not only possible, but owed to them. For men, the lesson is this: being a good partner isn't enough. You also need to maintain an element of unpredictability, growth, change, a sense that you're still becoming something, not just coasting. If she can completely predict your next move, your next response, your next year, you've become boring. And boredom kills relationships as surely as betrayal does. This doesn't mean you need to manufacture drama or become unstable. It means you need to keep evolving new challenges, new goals, new dimensions of yourself that she hasn't fully explored. The man she's with in year 5 should be more developed, more interesting, more accomplished than the man she met in year 1. If you've plateaued, same job, same hobbies, same conversations, same routines, you've become furniture, present, but uninteresting, safe, but not exciting, reliable, but not compelling. The antidote to boredom isn't random excitement, it's purposeful growth. Be the man who's going somewhere, building something, becoming something. That forward motion creates the energy that keeps relationships alive. The sixth fact explains a behavior that confuses men for years after breakups. The ex who randomly reaches out. Here's the scenario. You dated a woman. It ended. Months or even years pass. You've moved on. Then out of nowhere, she texts. Something casual. Hey, how have you been? Saw something that reminded me of you. Just thinking about old times. Most men interpret this as lingering feelings. Maybe she misses him. Maybe she wants to reconnect. Maybe she regrets letting him go. Sometimes that's true, but often something else is happening. She's not reaching out because she wants you back. She's reaching out to confirm she made the right decision by leaving. Her internal process works like this. She left the relationship for reasons that made sense at the time, but doubt creeps in. What if he was actually a good catch and she didn't realize it? What if his life improved after she left? What if she traded up or traded down? The random text is an intelligence-gathering mission. She wants to assess your current status. Are you thriving without her? Have you upgraded your life? Are you with someone better than her? If you respond and reveal that your life has declined, you're struggling, lonely, haven't moved on, she gets to feel validated. She was right to leave. She didn't miss anything. If you respond and reveal that your life has improved, better career, better shape, happy with someone new, she experiences discomfort, maybe regret, or maybe she'll even try to reinitiate something, not because she actually wants you back, but because your increased value makes you desirable again. The pattern reveals something important about how some women process breakups. Their evaluation of you doesn't end when the relationship does. You remain on their mental scorecard, and they periodically check in to see how your value has changed. For men, the move here is simple. Don't respond, or respond in a way that reveals nothing useful. Don't give her the satisfaction of knowing she still affects you. Don't let her use you as a reference point for her own self-esteem. The best revenge, if that's even what you're after, is a life that speaks for itself. Let her wonder. Let her assume the best. Let her sit with the possibility that leaving you is a mistake she'll never fully know the answer to. There's another version of this pattern worth mentioning. Sometimes the ex reaches out when her current situation has declined. Her new relationship failed. Her life didn't improve the way she expected. Now she's wondering if she can come back to what she left. This isn't reconciliation driven by love. It's retreat driven by failure. She's not coming back because she realized your value. She's coming back because her other options collapsed. The moment something better appears, she'll be gone again. Men with self-respect recognize this pattern and refuse to be a safety net. You're not a backup plan. You're not a fallback position. You're not the guy she settles for when her adventures don't work out. Either you're her first choice or you're not her choice at all. Now, let me be clear about something. I'm not saying all women operate this way. I'm not saying these patterns are universal or that women are bad people for having these tendencies. What I am saying is that these patterns exist. They're common enough that most men will encounter them. And understanding them instead of being blindsided by them gives you the ability to navigate relationships from a position of awareness rather than naivety. The men who struggle most in modern dating are the ones who believe the fairy tale version of relationships. They think love conquers all. They think being a good person guarantees a good outcome. They think relationships work if both people just try hard enough. The men who thrive are the ones who understand the game as it actually is not as they wish it were. They maintain their value consistently. They watch for warning signs. They don't ignore red flags because of emotional investment. They understand that attraction and respect are earned daily, not secured permanently at the altar. They choose partners carefully, watching actions instead of believing words. They maintain their own identity, friendships, and purpose, never becoming so dependent on a relationship that losing it would destroy them. Most importantly, they lead, not through control or dominance, but through clarity. They know who they are, what they want, and where they're going. They invite partners to join them on that journey, but they don't abandon the journey for any partner. Here's what nobody tells you. The patterns I've described aren't going away. Modern culture is reinforcing them, not fixing them. Social media is amplifying them. The legal system continues to incentivize them. Waiting for the world to change is not a strategy. Your strategy is to become the exception. Build value that makes the scorecard work in your favor. Be selective enough that backup plans become irrelevant. Create a life so purposeful that transactional thinking can't attach to it. Be dynamic enough that boredom never sets in. This isn't about performing for women. It's about building a life that works for you and then finding a woman worthy of joining it. The right woman will recognize what you've built and want to contribute to it. The wrong woman will try to extract from it until there's nothing left. Your job is to know the difference. And here's the final piece. You deserve that clarity. You deserve to enter relationships with your eyes open. You deserve to understand the dynamics you're operating in rather than learning them through painful experience. The fact that this information isn't mainstream doesn't mean it isn't true. It just means you have to seek it out for yourself. The 6 facts I've shared today aren't meant to make you bitter. They're meant to make you aware. The internal scorecard, the backup plan mentality, the transactional framing, the anxiety beneath confidence, the danger of boredom, the ex who checks in. These are patterns you'll recognize now that you know what to look for. Knowledge isn't pessimism, it's protection. The man who understands these dynamics can build relationships from a foundation of strength rather than hope. He can choose partners who operate differently because, yes, plenty of women don't fit these patterns at all. The goal isn't to avoid women or to treat them as adversaries. The goal is to engage with reality as it is to protect yourself from dynamics that could harm you and to build something real with someone who deserves you. That starts with awareness. Now you have it. Use this knowledge wisely. Not as a weapon against women, but as armor for yourself. Not as justification for bitterness, but as a foundation for better choices. The man who understands these dynamics isn't angry. He's prepared. He's not avoiding relationships. He's approaching them with clarity instead of fantasy. That's the difference between the man who gets destroyed by relationships and the man who builds something lasting. Knowledge, awareness, the willingness to see things as they are rather than as he wishes they were. If this video opened your eyes, you'll want to see what happens when a man finally decides to put himself first. Subscribe Dark Psyche channel. Thank you.